Waiting for it to connect. Wow, bam, that was fast. Went live as soon as I clicked it. Hey, everybody, welcome to Tea Time Tuesday. It's Eldana. Thanks so much for stopping by for our show tonight. I'm so happy to have you here. And we have some great guests that we'll get to in a minute. Wanted to let you know about some updates with Kenya. We're still raising funds, as I say every week, to help the ladies. Their restrictions have been extended to March 12th, so they're still not able to get out and sell anything. So we are still providing food packs. You can go to basketsandbeadskenya.org if you'd like to donate. We've also just sent funding for $500 worth of school uniforms for, a dozen or more kids because they've opened their schools back up, but they haven't opened up commerce there. So it's very interesting. So we are providing things like food packs. We're providing uniforms. We recently, with a generous couple of donors, we were able to provide food packs as well as blankets and clothing for the kids. So, and actually underwear for the women. So if you'd like to donate, one of the other needs we have is we're going to give the kids some shoes, because I saw some pictures of them and they're wearing basically nothing. The things that they're wearing are falling apart. So if you have a heart to donate anything, I know a lot of people are going through a struggle right now, but check out basketsandbeadskenya.org. It is tax deductible. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Dynamic Vision Foundation is the official name of the nonprofit. Well, it is Tea Time Tuesday, right? And I have my tea, my Kenya tea. Oh my gosh, my favorite. It doesn't have any caffeine, so it's like the wind down tea for the evening. And it's been so cold here in Southern California. If you're not in California and you're listening to this, we're somewhere where you think it's really cold. It's in the 40s and 50s here. We're pulling out parkas and things. That's freezing for us. So it's been raining and windy and all that. So we're kind of freezing here, but I want to introduce my great guests tonight. We are here to talk tonight about the fight against human trafficking and the upcoming event that on January 30th, leaders in the fight against human trafficking. It's on January 30th. There'll be a link later to where you can go to register for that. But Sonia Bailey, who is the Harbor Area YWCA Executive Director, I can't speak, and my friend Cecilia Gonez, who is, she is the glue. She's a coordinator, a helper. She's very much an advocate for getting the message out there about what human trafficking is and how we can be aware and actually help prevent it. So I had done a blog post on it. You can look at basketsandbeadskenya.com, the .com site in the blog, about human trafficking and kind of what it is and what it isn't. So we're going to have a little discussion about that tonight, because a lot of people think that human trafficking is simply the sex trade, right? You guys have probably experienced that. But what is human trafficking? What is kind of the definition of human trafficking? Either one of you can share.
Well, it's the exploitation of people in sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and Rohita Khan at the Department of Homeland Security wrote the manual on that. And for as part of the YWCA, our mission is prevention, and that's been a journey for us. And I know Cecilia is very involved with all areas of trafficking. And from the, we're told that the average age a child is approached is 12. Which is shocking in itself, and even to the point where community people don't realize that it's happening here. They think it's somewhere else or overseas or in another town, but literally it's all over. And so our mission is mostly prevention, but we acknowledge everyone, and trafficking's been a big part of our mission for a long time.
And Cecilia, I think you and I have talked about this. Hasn't it increased with COVID? There's been an increase in the instances of trafficking that's gone up from what I've read.
Yeah, sadly, it has increased. A lot of people think that it's like since we're locked down and the houses is not happening. But unfortunately, one of the main pipelines and the the thing that fuels human trafficking, especially sex human trafficking and child sex trafficking, is the porn industry. And now as we know, at least here in the United States, here in California, here in Los Angeles, our kids are doing homeschooling, so they always in their computer. So it's very important to educate our parents and our community and our students about cyber safety, because the predators are there just waiting for the kids to be exposed, and so they can groom them and then just get them, and like you said, it's not just about sex trafficking, child sex trafficking. We have domestic servitude, and we have labor trafficking. And like Sonia said, a lot of people, unfortunately, still to today think that this happens in faraway places like Kenya, like India, like Mexico, but it's happening here in our own backyards. And this is why we're so passionate about bringing awareness so people know. So first of all, for us, just without moving a finger, just watching where our coffee, our tea, our chocolate, and our sugar is coming from, we helping already for not be luring from kids in Africa or other places where they are harvesting the cocoa to make the chocolate, the tea, the coffee. We need to watch where is the chain of the industry, where is the clothes that we're wearing coming from, because that happens in faraway places, but it happens here in Los Angeles in the garment industry.
Right.
So it's the spectrum of the sexual exploitation, labor exploitation, the spectrum is just immense,
Right.
and this is why it's very important for us, like you, Aldona. Thank you so much for having us, like the YWCA with Sonia, and just regular people like me. I'm just an advocate. So when people think about advocate, they think that it's just like somebody that has like paralegal or a lawyer or stuff like that. And no, advocating is just speaking up or is speaking on about this, something that you're passionate about it. And obviously the three of us were passionate about helping, especially our women and girls, and obviously our boys and men.
Yeah,
Because,
what you're saying about being aware of where you get who makes your clothes, the chocolate you eat, the coffee you drink, the sugar, where it comes from, because a lot of that has forced child labor, forced slave labor. The Washington Post did an excellent article about the child slave labor industry. These children are kidnapped and they're forced to work, and they don't get paid for it. They don't get to go to school, and their lives are just destroyed. And some of the big chocolatiers like Hershey's is one of the big offenders, who's been saying for years that they would change their policies and go towards fair trade chocolate. And fair trade, for anybody listening who doesn't know, Baskets and Beads is a member of the Fair Trade Federation, which means that the way we operate has gone through a intense scrutiny to make sure that we're not doing child labor, we're not doing forced labor, that our artisans are paid promptly, and they're paid at a fair wage. That's what fair trade is. So if it's been fair trade certified as a chocolate or a coffee or sugar or something like that, that means that their practices, the manufacturer's practices, have been checked, and that they are not using forced labor or child labor or things like that.
Exactly. So that's the main thing that we have to start learning, and again, advocating, meaning speaking about educating people. It's not that, you don't have no schooling or anything like that. Educating is that you're learning about the fact, and we always have to watch where is the chain supply, and especially also with the seafood too,
Seafood, yeah.
Seafood, very important. Yes, very, very important. And it's just that, if you don't know, and sadly there is organizations and there is people that I have shared with them, like, don't support Hershey's, don't support Nestle, don't do this, and like, but I cannot give away my chocolate. And I'm like, so you don't care that you're contributing to child labor, slavery. So you need to like really understand and do the little part,
And there's plenty of fair trade chocolate out there. I know.
Oh, yes, there is. I agree.
Lily's actually is a great brand that's sugar-free. I partake in that. Yeah, it's we have that at Fair Trade Long Beach. Stop by. There's some other fair trade chocolate there, and we also have fair trade coffee as well. So, so Sonia, you were agreeing with Cecilia about the seafood industry. I didn't know about that. They have problems in the seafood industry as well.
Well, they probably have problems in lots of industries, but that's one of the ones that is not so well known. And I don't know if you know, but we were the nonprofit partner when we started See It End It Film and Arts Festival. It was a festival just on movies and arts to bring awareness to human trafficking and the dangers of it. And this documentary was on the fisheries, and it was really eye-opening. And so the history of that, and the reason why I bring up See It End It as it was a model to make people come to the table to seek awareness. Whereas before we could have workshops and we could have panel discussions, and we were doing it when the days when nobody wanted to show up. But when we did this event with Patrick Erlinson, which you might know, over half of the audience hadn't had any exposure to human trafficking awareness. So we know that model brings people wanting to watch and find out. So it's another way, just beyond us talking, of being able to show visually what trafficking does to families, communities, in a narrative form and also a documentary form.
Wow.
So it was really ran the gamut. And then with COVID, we had actually we're getting ready for the second one, and it was held at the Warner Grand Theatre on 6th Street, and we had already been approved to shut down the road outside the theatre so that we could have more resource agencies come and share direct factual information with people that came to the festival. And we were having another stage, and we were going to have thousands of people, and then COVID happened. So we went virtual, and so that's been very successful with a goal of going global, but that's not going to come till the summertime. But those are sorts of things where we're trying to put out the word of awareness, but movies and documentaries isn't enough. And Cecilia and I agree that we have to go back to local. It starts local and it will end local, where the prevention and eradication of human trafficking will not stop unless we have a call to action back to our local towns and cities and homes, grandmas and grandpas and mothers and fathers. And it might take a generation, and we chip away at it, just like racial justice.
Yeah, there's a saying about if you see something, say something, but it's the part that you have to look and see. And I admit, for many years, I think probably until I got involved in fair trade, I didn't understand that it went beyond the sex industry. Now, some of my ladies were prostituting themselves in order to raise money in Kenya to feed their families, which is why we are so passionate and so dedicated to make sure that they have food every month, because we don't want them in this time when they can't earn any income to say, oh, well, I have no food, I'm starving. They have no food pantries or anything over there. And we wanted to make sure that they didn't go back to prostituting themselves while we're on this basic. I'm still placing small orders, but it's not anything like I was in the 2 years prior to that. So, but I started learning about the chocolate industry and about coffee and about even your clothing. I mean, I heard about things in downtown Los Angeles as well as other countries where they're forcing people. They work in that. You probably have heard of I think it was Bangladesh, where they were forcing these laborers to go in this building that had been declared unsafe, and the bottom floor people had cleared out, but the manufacturer for the clothing said, no, you're going to go in, you're going to work, and the whole building collapsed. And it was one of the worst incidents over there of people dying from being trapped in those locations, and they were forced into those conditions.
Yeah. Well, I think Bangladesh, isn't that one of the biggest places to get T-shirts? They're known for clothing labor trafficking.
Right. Yeah, I think so. So it's about, I always look at my labels now and it's kind of like, oh gosh, where did this come from? And
then not necessarily it was made by, but the fabric was probably manufactured and made somewhere else that wasn't on the label.
Right, assembled in whatever. One of the T-shirt companies, they aren't necessarily a fair trade certified company, but they have fair trade practices. As Bella Campus, that's who I use for a lot of my T-shirts. I have actually been to their factory in downtown Los Angeles and walked the floor and seen how clean it is and how they do business there. I was kind of like, okay, I want to see. And I read they have an entire thing about how they treat their employees. It's fair trade based, but they're not fair trade verified. But so I feel good when I put Baskets and Beads logo on a Bella T-shirt that those people are earning a fair wage and they work in it's a nice factory. It's beautiful. It's nice on the inside. It's clean. You can tell they seem to enjoy what they're doing. There's not stuff stacked everywhere. I mean, they have rolls of fabric, but it's really awesome. But I wanted to talk a little bit about forced labor and how people can get sold into labor as a child. We all know Sherry Ho's story, and I've read the book of her story. And then there's a second book that Cecilia has. She was sold into slavery by her family when she was a child in Taiwan at 7 years old. And she was sold to this family, and they stripped her basically of a life, and she became a slave. And they even brought her here to the US. Maybe you guys want to share a little more about her story.
I met Sherry Ho in 2017 at the Long Beach Human Trafficking Task Force. That's where all my journey and education about human trafficking started. A good friend of mine sent me that way, and that was like a godsend. So I met Sherry Ho in there, and actually it was when she was launching her books. So when I learned about her story, it was just very impactful to me. And it's sad that, that because this is the mistake that a lot of people, is a misconception. I also think that there's this kids that they get kidnapped and they take them far away. No. Sadly, even here in the United States, as that happened unfortunately with Sherry Ho back in Taiwan, there is kids that they've been trafficked by their parents, by their caregivers. It's usually a family member, sadly. This is why I always gonna go back to say the spectrum of the human trafficking is big. It's not just one thing. It happens here. It happens everywhere. This is why it's so important, the movement that we're trying to create. So Sherry Ho effectively, she was sold by her father when she was 7 years old. Her mother was not okay with that. Her mother promised her that she was going to come back looking for her. Sadly, that never happened. You know how, and especially, Sonia and I were immigrants. So I was about to say, how in our countries, but Eldona, our cultures are different. And that's not an excuse that it's okay that I'm going to be submissive and I'm going to let my husband, boyfriend, whoever sell my kids. We have a responsibility to protect our kids. But again, like you were mentioning with your ladies in Kenya, Eldona, unfortunately, they starving and they feel that the only opportunity that they can provide food for their kids is selling their body, So sadly, these people, I that is one thing that I can never understand, how a parent, a father or mother or both can sell their own kids. And sadly, this was the story of Sherry Ho. Like you mentioned, they brought her here and she was still a slave here in the United States, luckily she was blessed enough that somebody saw something and say something and had the dedication, patience, and passion to earn her trust for 4 years and save her, and then from there it became the Crime Stoppers, the Department of Homeland Security, and all of that, and now she's a very happy lady. But just me thinking as a mother, she was sold 7 years old. Imagine a little baby growing without a mother, without a father, being a slave, sleeping on the floor, working all day long. That's the domestic servitude. It's just sad. It's just plain sad.
Yeah, and so it's her story is really something that is a great thing to read. You can go to her website, which is Freedom Has a Name. This book is entitled My Name is Also Freedom, and then the second one is Finding Freedom. So this goes all the way through from when she was a child up until she was rescued, and then it leads into her life as she was starting to get acclimated, kind of not being a slave, because she never went to school. She didn't learn anything. She had rags to wear for clothes. She was beaten. She was abused. She was talked down to like a dog. She was treated horribly. And for her to turn around and be the happy person that she is definitely a miracle. And she's a beautiful spirit. I love speaking with her because she's so warm and kind and friendly. So that there is hope. And so if somebody they see something, can they call a hotline, or how can people get information?
Okay, so I posted the National Human Trafficking Hotline. It will be wonderful if everybody can memorize the number, having in their cell phone. You just posted 188-3737. So, for example, if you see that somebody's always wearing the same clothes, that they look sad, that they don't speak the language, or is, for example, right now that it's freezing cold and they don't even have a jacket or shoes, or it's you just have to trust your gut, and this is something, these are some words that I learned from Sherry Hall at her presentation. She says, what, if you see something and your gut is telling you that something's wrong, trust your gut and do something. Sadly, also a lot of people think oh, that's why we have the police, this is why we have FBI, but it's just a small amount of officers at any PD. It's just a certain amount of officers at FBI and all those law enforcement agencies. We are the ones on the floor. We are the ones in our neighborhoods. We are the ones looking, driving around or in public transportation. So we have to be alert. If we see something, we have to say something, don't expect that somebody's going to do it. Sadly, our world has evolved that everybody has to, it's okay to turn around and ignore it. It's not happening to me. I don't know that person. I don't care about it. No, we have to bring back to our roots and humanity. And just like Sherry said, trust your gut. And if you think that something is wrong, say something. Don't call 911 because they're not gonna say right. It's a lot of questions. But you can call the Human Trafficking National Hotline. Also, there is these posters around that you can call. This is to give the tips also. It's just so many things that we can do, and just talking about it. The more that we talk about, the more that we move forward, that everybody is aware, and then hopefully one day we can stop this. But sadly, the sad part is that this is organized crime, So we have to step on it. Like Sonia was saying, with the CRN, that is wonderful that now went virtual and online and it's going to go globally. But what about our communities? What about Long Beach? What about San Pedro? What about Downey? What about our students? The main pipeline is the foster care system, is the foster care, homelessness, and then they end up being trafficked because of the situation. So again, the spectrum of the human trafficking is really big. So what we have to do as human beings is find what is your passion, get educated on that specific aspect, and then advocate. What is advocating? Just talking about it, but have your facts clear, so that way you can lead people to help other people. It was a lot of remember when they were posting about the thing, what is this thing that they sell furniture, and they were saying that they were selling human beings. What is it called? I forgot. It's a lot of conspiracy theories, So the main thing is that you learn the facts so we can really make something,
Yeah.
So,
So
so
Sonia,
what we're saying here is that there are things we can do, but most importantly, we have to educate ourselves first and share that education. I mean, it's no point, calling the 800, oh, that person's got no shoes. That, we need an intelligent, educated group that will go out, even if it's one by one, that will prevent even one child from being trafficked. And we also believe that part of that prevention is being with that generation, bringing up their self-esteem so that they're not vulnerable. I mean, if they're finding that it's not an economic thing as much. I mean, potentially it is an economic thing, but across all spectrums of the economy, it could be middle class, it could be lower income, it could be middle income, it could be anywhere, it could be in the suburbs. And our job is to help educate or facilitate the education of people on trafficking so that they could be more aware of what's going on around them. So we need to be more honest and have those conversations with our children so that these things eventually stop. And then on the other side of things, who's dealing with the demand part? We're dealing with the prevention, how these kids are being, groomed and induced and saying that's a better life, or even just flat out kidnapped. But what about the demand? What about Super Bowl coming up? That's the largest trafficking day. Let's be honest about it. What about that? Let's get on that. And Patrick Erlinson, part of our team, has really trying to attack that part of it, if that's the wrong word, but that's a very difficult thing, and it's just as much as part of it's just as much the role of mothers and fathers to relate to their children so that they have an open door, so that there's nothing to be ashamed of. If there's something that they want to talk about, make it available. And that's all part of the education training of trafficking prevention. There's just so broad, but where do you start?
Yeah, well, I think a good start is the event coming up January 30th. So let's share a little bit about that. So Sonia, would you like to start by sharing the event? Well,
we're really thrilled because we get to expand on Cecilia's in-person events. This will be the third one. The previous ones were done physically in the city of Downey, and we're very proud that city of Downey is also virtually part of this event as well. And some amazing speakers that can not only, trafficking 101, if you had no exposure at all, you will know by the end of it what trafficking is and what to potentially be looking for, and also the updated information. Rohita Khan from Department of Homeland Security, she doesn't speak for everyone. We're very fortunate that she's going to be on our panel, and also the enforcement part of things, and the faith-based part of things. And so I think we're going to be a very well-rounded discussion. It's going to be great. And then we're going to do another one on cyber safety in March, probably.
Okay, so this one is January 30th. It's from noon to 1:30, right? On if I remember right, that specific time. And it's called Leaders in the Fight Against Human Trafficking. And there will be a link in the comment section so you can click on it. It's also going to be posted all over all the pages, or we'll be sharing it continuously. But before we get a little bit further into that, we do have a message from the mayor of Downey, who is going to be one of the speakers. She wasn't able to be here with us tonight, but she did send us a video message that we want to share with everybody. So if we can roll that would be great. So we can hear from her and then talk a little more about the event.
Hello, Downey. I'm Claudia Frometta, your mayor. I want to take this opportunity to invite you to join us in an upcoming online event titled Leaders in the Fight Against Human Trafficking. It is my pleasure this year to join the YWCA of Harbor City, the Downey Patriot, and of course our city of Downey, in coming together collaboratively to lend a voice to human trafficking in the fight against this epidemic. There are millions of people that are trapped in this modern day slavery, and we need to come together, law enforcement agencies, municipalities, houses of worship, community organizations, and schools to bring more awareness and education about what we can do to stop human trafficking. Please join us on Saturday, January 30th from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. at an online event. You will see the link on your screen. Please register. It is a free event. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, January 30th. Be well.
Awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. So Cecilia, share a little bit about what we can expect, who we can expect to hear from, how the event's going to go.
Okay, so like Sonia mentioned, we have events before live, and this is why I am so honored that I met Sonia through Patrick Erlinson, and we worked together on See It Ended. And then when I discovered that the YWCA has been bringing awareness and working on human trafficking since 15 years ago, before even people knew about human trafficking, about just the name, about just the concept, the YWCA were working already. So I'm like, oh my Lord, 15 years ago, and still people today, when we talk about human trafficking, they think there is something that happened overseas or nothing. So we have put together a wonderful set of panelists, speakers. Yeah. This is why the event is called Leaders on the human trafficking, on the fight of human trafficking. We're going to have Susan Patterson. She is a national leader in the faith community. She's going to give us a briefly quick human trafficking 101, really quick, like Sonia says, if you haven't been exposed or you don't understand or you don't know what about human trafficking, because sadly, a lot of people think that human trafficking is about exportation, not exploitation, and it's about exploitation, not exportation. Exportation will be the smugglers. So it's going to be a really quick 101, and then she's very passionate about the foster youth. Like I mentioned earlier, that's one of the main pipelines. Then obviously we have the honor to have the mayor, the second female Latina mayor in the wonderful city of Downey, that is giving us her support 150%. I know if my kids would have been listening, they would say, Mom, you don't say it like that. And I'm like, but yeah, I love to say 150%, and like Sonia has mentioned, I know Sonia probably is not going to mention, but the city of Downey give the YWCA the proclamation of the human trafficking, and that's a big honor. And just coming from Mayor Claudia Frometta, obviously she's going to talk about how the city, like Sonia mentioned it, Downey is trailblazing the way for other cities to follow the model that, you have to bring the awareness. We have to protect our kids. We have to bring together the PTAs, the faith community, and everybody else. So that's that. And because of Downey, again, has been trailblazing this movement, now Downey PD has their own human trafficking unit within their department. So we're going to have Sergeant Villegas and Detective Chaides talking about that. We're going to have a lived experience. I know she will hate survivor. Wonderful. She has her own nonprofit, Jamie Johnson. You will be touched. If you've been touched by Sherry, Aldana, you will be blown away by Jamie Johnson. And obviously we have to implement all the aspects of the movement and the leaders that they're working on this fight. So this is why we have the honor to also have Rohita Khan from the Homeland Department of Security. I love that she calls herself, she's Mother Teresa from the Department of Homeland Security, because sadly, a lot of people, when they think about the Department of Homeland Security, they think about ICE. But when it comes to human trafficking, ICE really is the one who goes and saves those kids. So see, it's good things, it's bad things. So this is why we implemented all these great speakers, so that way they can explain to people, educate people. Luckily this year, since we're gonna go online, virtual, Zoom, it's gonna be Zoom actually. We're gonna be reach out more cities, and then we're gonna have Miss Mary David from Journey Out. Journey Out is a nonprofit organization that they provide services for survivors, for the victims. They are the ones that actually go to the streets and help, just like you, Aldana. You go all the way to Kenya and help you ladies and bring them food and give them love and give them everything. This is what Journey Out does for the victims here in Los Angeles. So we're going to have Miss Mary David giving a really quick introduction on cyber safety to leave everybody excited for our future event, like Sonia mentioned, in March for cyber safety.
Awesome.
So
Sonia,
we're very excited.
Do you have anything you'd like to add about the event?
Well, it's going to be amazing. And I think people, what we want people to go away from is they learned a lot. I mean, I remember our first awareness events, 10, 15 years ago. We're sitting there talking to ourselves. And now it's much more, it's really great to see so much people more interested in learning about it. I don't know that it's gotten any less. It's gotten certainly a lot more sophisticated, and it's really been amazing to learn from the experts as it's sort of progressed, how, you used to follow the money, and now with the dark web and then the grooming process, and you learn something every single time you go and to one of these panel discussions, and you learn the most up-to-date information that you need for your children.
I remember
and basically, I'm sorry.
I just remember reading, I was trying to find it, that there were all types of raids that's happened during COVID, where law enforcement has been able to rescue a lot of children that were taken and been able to get them back. They had different task forces in different parts of the country that were getting large groups of kids back, which was wonderful. But I think obviously that's a great start.
Yeah, it is a good start. Well,
the task force, the task force are been doing a wonderful job. Like I said earlier, when I started all my journey on this, my education and my participation and activism and advocacy, it was with the Long Beach Human Trafficking Task Force, because sadly Long Beach is well known that is one of the main cities where a lot of human trafficking happens, like we were talking about earlier about the garment industry. Actually, the whole movement here in Los Angeles started, I cannot remember the year, but it was with the sweatshops in El Monte. Somebody saw something and say something. So it was somebody that was working on the roof putting the air conditionings, and they saw this building that they have the barbed wire and all the windows and doors. They have bars, and they can see people walking like if they were working incarcerated and stuff like that. So somebody called and see the chain of reaction. Then luckily somebody from the dispatch took all the report, sent somebody, and then they rescue. And it was a big raid. And this is how everything started in Los Angeles, this movement that, oh my gosh, this is happening here in our own backyards, you know? Mm-hmm. So this is important, why we need to bring the awareness, you know, like the same with the massage parlors, and the motels and the hotels, you know, with the schools, with the cyber safety. Like Sonia says, we want to act locally, but think globally, you know, doing something here in our own neighborhoods and our own communities. We're going to inspire others to follow and do the same. And you know, education is powerful. Once you have the knowledge and you know what to look for, then you'll be surprised the changes that you can make. Like Sonia said, you know, just saving one more child, one more women, or a transgender, or a boy or a man, you know, because it happens to everybody, you know. 87% of the prostitutes, they're not prostitutes by choice. They being trafficked, you know? Yeah. And if they grow out, or their pimps throw them away, or they escape or whatever, because of the type of life that they have, they are trapped in that circle. Because, you know, it's drug addictions, it's trauma, it's all this stuff, like you know, like you ladies in Kenya, that they think this is the only thing that they can do.
Well, so this is a mindset, because so some of the things that we're working with our ladies in Kenya on is the poverty mindset, because you grow up in that type of a mindset, you don't know how to think another way, and we're working with them and teaching them how to think entrepreneurial and think and learn leadership skills. And they're looked up to in the community, but there's also jealousy from women that don't want to work. They don't want to come and work, but they want to be mad at them because they're succeeding. It's very interesting. And
it's
one of my goals,
dynamic.
It's what?
A very interesting dynamic, and how in the different ways of empowerment that you're instituting, and then how you empower a young person to have more self-esteem, so that, you know, how do we stop it from the very core? You know, what do they look for? What is the trafficker looking for? The vulnerability part of it. And, you know, let me give you this, and then they become friends, and then suddenly they're their boyfriend or their daddy, and then they've got a branding tattoo all of a sudden, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, you're going to do this for me. And it's a rude awakening. And this comes from a level of self-esteem from these young people. And that's why fostered youth is such a vulnerable target group, because they don't have that foundation that we would have, you know, that others would have had. So these are all the things. It's so broad, yet, you know, if you just go take away just one important thing from our session on Saturday, then that's a start.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised. Like I said, Eldana, hopefully our audience is gonna you know, get inspired and learn a lot just from Jamie Johnson. You know, she's a lived experience, like, you know, and now she's a CEO of the Sisters of the Street. It's another nonprofit that she provides services, and it's just her, you know, and she's a wonderful mother and a wonderful human being, and it's just, you know, you will never think that somebody that looks like her would have suffered the way they look, you know, because it's a lot of taboos and this thing that they think that only happen to minorities. And no, it happened also to to all races. When it comes to human trafficking, there is no color boundaries. It happened to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody,
everyone.
Sadly, like Sonia mentioned, right now is this movement where they saying that, oh, if you want to have beautiful nails, beautiful hair, just get a sugar daddy. Sadly,
Right.
there is websites, there is social media where it says you want a sugar daddy, come over here, and these girls, because like Sonia mentioned about the self-esteem, maybe they not actually are from the foster care system, but maybe the parents are too busy, or maybe they not having a good relationship with their parents, or maybe they they coming from dysfunctional family, or whatever it is, and it's always these predators that they there. So they put in the thing like about human trafficking with different faces, like for example, like the sugar daddy, like they promoting now, telling that we have to understand this. Those traffickers, they organize. This is why we need to organize ourselves as mothers, sisters, communities, and everything to go against them.
That's because
and
it's
educate.
a business. That's why it's a business to them. They're treated. It's a property. I mean, I remember Rohita asking if we could have our side property at the Y Dub, a trafficking survivor place. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really a big ask, because I don't know if we could protect them or ourselves. To be honest.
Sonia, you there you guys have been involved in the fight for 15 years. I didn't realize that. How did the YWCA get started with that?
It seems like 100, Eldana, honestly. Well, gosh, let me see. Was it 15? But that was part of our racial justice. We've always had our logo is eliminating racism, empowering women, and we're proud to stand by that on our letterhead. And our YW has been in that location for over 100 years. And so we have formally or informally done this work for 100 years. But we started doing workshops and discussions and panel discussions as part of our racial justice program. And it sort of grew out of that. But it took a long time for it to get some traction, I have to say.
Yeah, because a lot of times, and like we've been talking about tonight, and we'll start to wrap up here in a little bit, is that we say something, but a lot of people do this. It's like, oh gosh, I don't want to get involved. But I think that's
well, you also got to be aware of what you're looking for.
Right. Yeah. So being trained to look for something, but like Cecilia was saying earlier about trusting your gut, like something. That's how Sherry Ho got rescued. So there's something that's not right here. And a lot of times we like, okay, that wasn't anything, but you have to really trust. I call it the whisper inside. That's how I ended up in Kenya. I felt this whisper, this calling to go to Kenya and be involved with these women. And if I would have not listened to it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So it's a very important thing that we listen to that. And I think that I'm looking forward to the event to learn some things that I don't know, and ways that I can help even more, because I'm obviously working to help with my ladies in Kenya, but I want to help here as well.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for that. I mean, everyone.
And just you having us, Aldona, we the three of us together, we doing something. Even though you doing your part, Sonia's doing their part, I'm doing my little part as an individual community, concerned citizen. We all together. People think that like you have to belong to a nonprofit, or you have to be a lawyer, or you have to be a law enforcement, or what. No. Each of us, we have the power to do something. And just us being here, you doing that with your ladies, Sonia accepting, to work on the YWCA, all of that, all of us are doing something. So just being here, we're doing something. We have so much work to do, but just getting together today and on Saturday, we're doing wonderful things, And right now it's a lot of events still for a week, because, remember, January is the National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. That's why we're wearing blue.
That's right.
Awesome. This is a navy blue, but I have blue nails.
There you go.
Okay, so the event is called Leaders in the Fight Against Human Trafficking. It is an Eventbrite link. I'm just going to show this real quick, but I will put this link down we'll put it into the comment section of this video so you can go to it. But if you just if you Google Leaders in the Fight Against Human Trafficking, this link will come up so you can register for it. It is Saturday, this coming Saturday, January 30th, from noon to 1:30. You want to come and hear all the speakers and experience and learn things that maybe you don't know about human trafficking, how you can help be part of the solution and help in getting it stopped. If each person simply just helped one person, maybe you saw somebody that is being forced into labor, or you saw a child that you know of is being groomed somehow online, or just learning those things and being able to know what to look for, I think makes a big difference. And I think that everybody will learn a lot. I'm looking forward to the event. Do you guys have anything you want to add, either about the event or about maybe some final words about the fight against human trafficking? Go ahead, Sonia, you go first.
Well, it is free. It's free to register, and we're really excited to bring this whole program actually to cities around the LA or California area. It's something that we want to develop locally, and it's important. So thank you for this exposure, Donna. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. And Cecilia, you have any final words?
Yes, you can start doing something today. Start looking for fair trade certification on your chocolate, your tea, your sugar, your clothes, and your seafood. I go to Aldi and now I check my shrimp and it's certified good. I feel better eating it and cooking it.
Right, and then also for when buying fair, shopping fair. If you're local to the Long Beach area, be sure and visit Fair Trade Long Beach. It's a great fair trade store. Baskets and Beads Kenya is in there. Thinking about buying your gifts, you can go to basketsandbeadskenya.com. Also, if you're not local, because we have a whole online store, the Shopify store, where you can shop. All the things that we have there are handmade in Kenya. But mostly by the ladies. We have some made with another group that makes soapstone, but the majority of the products there, as you can see them all behind me, are handmade. These are made out of magazines. So this is sustainable. Wow. Yeah, this is a sustainable product. I'll kind of
excellent.
Each one of these beads is cut paper and it's hand rolled. So is my bracelet. So when you purchase one of these products, you are supporting women in Kenya and helping them become entrepreneurs. Our motto there is to give a hand up, not a handout, building self-sustaining families through entrepreneurship, one woman at a time. And I really love the phrase that's come out recently about empowered women empower women. I think it's wonderful as a woman to give a hand to another woman and help her step up, because all life comes from us. And these women, all, like most of them, have 4 to 6 kids. So they're being an example for their children, and maybe their children won't ever have to think about slave labor or prostituting themselves to make a living because of the example of their parents. So with that, I want to thank everybody for my panel for joining tonight. And I am looking forward to Saturday and hearing all the panelists and all the wonderful stories.
Yeah. And Eldana, I did want to say thank you so much for supporting our afternoon tea events and our wine tasting. I know you help contribute to those. And so, yeah, that's all part of the moving forward.
Yes, well, I'm having ideas about doing my own. I usually do an in-person tea with a purpose, and whenever we can do in-person things again, I'm wanting to do my tea with a purpose there at the
I love that.
Yeah, and have a fair trade fashion show type of event. So
I absolutely love that. Afternoon teas is our specialty.
Oh, I know. That's why I want to do it there. And I love afternoon tea. It's my favorite thing ever. I love tea. I'm always drinking tea. And afternoon tea, I love to travel around to different places and have afternoon tea. I got to actually go to a Mad Hatter tea with my daughter in London a couple of years ago. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, now we've had to develop a tea, take a tea home in a box.
Yes, but that was great too. Cecilia and I got to enjoy that. That was fun.
Yeah, so we've got ideas to make that one better.
We'll be able to be back together soon.
Oh, good.
But
Yeah,
thank
you know, Sonia,
you.
we did the tea at the fair tray at the second Saturday, remember?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, we were at my booth.
Yeah.
Socially, of course. Awesome. All right, ladies. Well,
thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And again, the link will be posted down below in the comments, so you'll be able to just click on that link, or you can simply go and Google Leaders in the Fight Against Human Trafficking to find that event. So hopefully I'll see all of you there. And
see you all on Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday. Until next time, I will see you all soon. Nakupenda.